Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Pat Hilton, the acoustic force. I got the man Bryce McKinley in the house today. I got the mother effer of mobile homes, Kristin Thompson. And I got baby Ella. Baby Ella's not feeling too well. Normally, she's like jumping off the bed, but today she's barricaded and watching a cartoon that's on mute. These guys already are chopping into some golden nuggets today on leads, lead generation, closing deals, doing more wholesales. Wholesaling is super, super popular in the real estate sector right now. So I'm going to give it the platform to you guys and let you guys talk about this because you guys are the experts.
Bryce, give the people a little history on yourself. I don't know, me and you have been around in the same circles and stuff, but I really don't know your history. I don't know a lot about how you got into this. I don't know a lot. Introduce yourself to the people, let them know who you are and where you're from and what you got going on.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Pat, for hosting this. And Corey, thank you for you guys bringing this together first and foremost. I appreciate you guys. My name is Bryce McKinley. A lot of my followers and friends call me Coach Sharpen. If you're watching this and it's in reverse, this is actually not a camera trick. The writing on my hat is backwards. And so that way, when I go live, like I do pretty frequently, it shows up the right way. And so it's an acronym that stands for selflessly helping already persons eager for nurturing. And it's also biblical to where as iron sharpens iron, so does one another for his friends. And so a little bit about me, I have made most of my money, honestly, in the car business. At 17, I was facing 2 murder charges, and I had a lot on my plate. I was running with the wrong crowd. I got off on some technicalities, and my uncle said, "You're going to come work for me." Literally grabbed me by the ear and put me in to detail cars at the dealership that he was managing. Now, at 17, when you see all this flashy money and all these guys hustling in nice suits and driving nice cars, and all you've ever done is hustle on the streets, and you know that you can probably do it better, you're begging for an opportunity. So that's what I did. I begged my uncle for an opportunity month after month, and then one snowy December day, he put me in the dealership, and he brought me in the dealership from the wash bay, and he said, "If you sell a car today, I'll put you on the team." Well, 3 hours later and 2 test drives for my husband and wife, I had 2 vehicles my first day, and the next day I was selling cars. Now, the reason why that's important is because between 17 and 19, I would become the #1 car salesman in the world. Where most car salesmen are selling 12 to 15 cars a month, I'm pushing 45, 50 cars a month and getting entered into these national competitions where they do like mock test drive, a walk around where you point out features and benefits as if you were in a real transaction. It's graded by your peers, and there's over 500,000 applicants that get into this every year within the motor vehicle industry. Nobody's ever done it twice. However, between 17 and 22, I've been there 4 times to nationals through the sectional, regional, and national rank. I've won it twice, and I've gotten second place twice. Now, that's important because I put me on the radar for Ford Corporate, and at 22, I had upped my average. I was averaging around 70 to 75 cars a month, and they pulled me out of my dealership.
Oh, we lost him.
Yep.
He's back.
He's back. He's back. Woo! So anyway, you were averaging a lot of sales.
Yeah, I was having fun. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a bunch of God-given abilities and natural talent. I loved the money, and the car business was just fun. I mean, there was drugs and alcohol, women, and nice cars. What could go wrong, right?
Everything,
However,
right?
At 22, when you're making a couple $1 million a year selling cars and living that fast life, I wasn't paying attention to what was important. And I had a wife at the time who she lost a baby, and she went into this deep depression, and all I knew how to do was work. And so Ford had recruited me out of my dealership. I'm traveling all over the world teaching a very simple 5-step process to a conversation. And it was fun. I got contracted with not only Ford, who I started with, but Nissan, and then Tyco Corporation, ADT Home Alarms. We all know who they are, being in the real estate business. They also asked me to come work for them. And so I had 3 6-figure contracts, well in excess of $1 million a year, traveling the world. And due to the depression that my wife was facing at the time, I wasn't focused on her as much as I was just providing. I was being that provider that most of us men, we just want to go out and work and hustle.
Right.
Wasn't being the husband that I needed to be. And so my story in real estate really starts Friday, June 13th, 2008, because you see, my wife's mom was my Sunday school teacher growing up. She and I had this very close relationship. She was like my auntie. I was Clyde. We were just doing life together. She had a couple businesses, but because of the stress, depression, and anxiety, I got a phone call, and I left the office to come home to my wife had killed herself.
Oh, wow.
And, man, I lost it. Between 2008 and 2010, I squandered every penny that we had ever saved. Assets, 2 companies between my company and she had a daycare with a couple sites, lost everything. I moved up to the Northwoods of Wisconsin. I met some beautiful Italian girl, and March of 2010 found out that she was pregnant. Now, that would be the pivotal point. It was a couple of weeks after St. Patrick's Day. I don't remember the exact date. That would be the pivotal point when we found out that we were pregnant, that I sobered up. And so I've been sober since March 2010. Wow. I still have.
Congratulations, dude.
Thank you, brother. I know that's important to you, and that's why what you and I shared the other day is important to me as well.
For sure.
I was on this path of destruction, and we ended up moving to Texas, or the Dallas area, with this contract with Tyco, training their new dealer program on this new homeowner package that I had implemented into their sales process. We had access to MLS, and we're pulling new homes that have closed, and within 30 days, we're knocking their doors. We're out knocking doors rather than most salesmen that are going door to door like alarm sales. We were actually going from new home sold to new home sold, and we called it Pinpoint, and literally took like the number 200 or 300 dealer on their list with this program. They trusted the process, fully implemented it, and now they're the largest ADT dealer in the country. And so I had some great success in corporate America. However, living in Texas, it made it hard for drugs and alcohol to implement into our lives. And because I found out the hard way that my son's mom hadn't given that up, and she was sneaking pills and cocaine behind my back. And I came home one day, and this was like, I think January or February, maybe March, somewhere in there, the very first couple months of the year. And my little baby boy is just a few months old, was playing around, crawling and moving around on the floor. And she had OD'd, and there's pills all over.
Oh,
well, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That wasn't going to be in my life. And so I picked him up. I went and packed a backpack. I did what everybody in Roughneck would probably do. I set him back down in the pills and took a bunch of pictures and made it look worse, you know. And that was a Friday. On Monday, I filed for custody of my son. Now,
is this the son that I met at the meetup?
It is.
Oh, wow.
It is.
So she survived the overdose.
Yes, she did.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought she was dead this whole time.
No, I'm sorry. So his mom is still alive. She ended up doing some pretty hard time. It wasn't in his life for several years. She's back in his life. They talk on the phone and all of that. But see, Kristin has some disabilities that most people wouldn't recognize because of our discipline and our routines that we get into. And my son, he was never even supposed to speak, and now he speaks on stages with me all over the world. And so that little boy saved my life. I say that because what got me into real estate was over the next 6 to 9 months while I'm fighting for custody, apparently she had access to my account that I wasn't aware of.
Oh,
and not only my own attorney, but I paid for hers as well, and I still got sole custody. Now, The reason why that's important is because she drained me. And about 9 months into this ordeal, I'd gotten kicked out of my hotel. I lost the contract with Tyco, and I'm sleeping in my car. So for about 6 to 9 months, I'm absolutely homeless, sleeping in my car at the base of a water tower in McKinney, Texas. And I had had enough. I'll never forget the day, September 28, 2011, the same 40 cal that sits right over here. Well, it's over here today. It's normally next to my bed. I put it in my mouth and I pulled the trigger 3 times.
What happened?
It jammed. It hasn't jammed since, and it never jammed before. And that's when I knew that there was a higher power. I knew that I wasn't in full control, and I submitted to that. Matter of fact, I call that higher power. I call him God, Jesus, whatever you want to call it if you're a Christian. But that night, just like Moses in the desert or, Jesus out in the wilderness, I wrestled with God. I'm yelling and screaming like, why am I going through this more and more? And I finally just gave up. And so if y'all follow me, I have a hashtag that says sold out coaching and mentoring, because I gave my life to Christ that night. And I heard the audible voice of God say, through my son, who was never supposed to speak, which is creepy still to this day even to think about, but I heard him say, everything's going to be okay, Daddy. And I turned around and he was asleep. It's the same voice that I hear today when I talk to my son. So I told God to show up. The next day.
Ella's clapping back here. Ella's clapping for you back here.
Nice. Thank you, Ella. Give it to God. I love it.
I love that.
So that next morning, I woke up and I'm just like, all right, let's do this. God, show up. You said you would.
Right.
Within an hour of me waking up, I had an apartment complex call me, or I had an old client call me, excuse me. They found an old invoice and they owed me 20 grand. And this is how God works in my life, because I think that he has a pretty sick sense of humor. If you don't know that, look around. There's some funny people around. But they froze my bank account because of the big transaction.
Right. I was going to ask about that.
$1,000 over the next 9 to 10 months. But even better, an hour or two after that initial phone call and that transfer, I had an apartment complex call me and say, hey, I was just wondering if you're still looking for a place. We've got a 1-bedroom open up. And so I had money in the bank, not a lot, because I only had about $2,000 in a 1-bedroom apartment with bills to pay. And so over the next, year, 9 months to a year, I would hustle, do odds and end jobs. And I found a real estate company that was looking for acquisition managers. And you see, I was fired for the first and last time at 8 years old. And I had a paper out because I was 8, you're supposed to be 10, I got fired. Well, I vowed that I would never do that again. I didn't want to work for these guys, so I proposed that I become a partner with my sales and NLP techniques, their processes, and new systems in with the lead flow that I would create and the deal flow.
Matt, can you mute your mic?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going, Bryce.
I appreciate you guys. So they offered me a position. I offered them a partnership. They laughed at me, and a week later they called me back and asked me, they said, if you could do 10 transactions, we'll provide the leads. We'll talk about this partnership. And that first month I did 23 wholesale closing funded transactions.
So how does that money split out on that? When you do those 23, it's a partnership. Are you getting a portion? Are you getting the whole deal? Like when I think we don't wholesale, I mean, we're not big wholesalers. But obviously, whenever we do, like last month, we spent $6,000 on marketing. I expect to make $100,000 off of that 6, right? It doesn't come back in the same month, obviously. That $6,000 in marketing comes back over the next 3 months, because right now on our board, we've got title issues. We've got stuff that we've been trying to track down heirs on for 2 months. You know what I mean? That's the kind of shit that happens when you're in this business. When you do 23, right, you get 23 all the way across the finish line and monetize it, and y'all split the money, or do you how much of that is yours at that point in time?
Yeah, and that's a great question. You see, they had a full-blown real estate brokerage on the retail side, and this was a separate company that they made me a partner in, and so it was a percentage. It was just as if I was doing a commission, but unlike your typical commissions where you work as acquisitions, I had a higher percentage. So I was between 20 and 35%, depending on the number of and volume,
Right.
plus an equation of the spread. So if it was a $10,000 assignment, it was like 15%. If it was a $35,000 assignment, it was 20%. But if it was
Right.
50 or more, I was getting 30% or something like that. I don't have the numbers in my head right now.
I know. I just think numbers are important. When
Yeah.
like in this business, like I'm a numbers guy. When numbers come at me, I'm like, I that's what I eat up in this. Like, and I'm not even that good at math. I'm just, for me, like we just did a hotel deal. We only made $3,100. We're actually going to pay, $1,600 or $1,550 or whatever it is, whatever half of 31 is, to the girl that I was trying to show, hey, all you got to do is drive down the street, use this app, and you can send me these leads and I'll close them and I'll split the deal with you. I'm trying to show her that. We get this one in escrow, we get it closed, we buy it, we get it listed, there's interest, whatever. And she doesn't go find another lead. You know what I mean? She doesn't download the app. She doesn't find another lead. She's about to get her first payday, but she's already behind on getting her next payday because, the next payday would have came the next day. You know what I mean? Had she gone and done the one thing that you can do, which is drive down the street, open your eyes and look and say, oh, that house looks like shit. You know what I mean? Anybody can do that. Anybody can start with that. But she didn't do it. So she doesn't have a next payday until probably another 30 to 60 days down the road if she found a deal right now. And that's making $3,100. We have 2 hours in that deal. Was the point I was going to make.
There's an opportunity. Real quick, there's an opportunity for a nugget there because I hear what you're saying, and it sounds like we both agree on. Best time to get a deal.
Pat, you gotta mute your mic. You're cutting us out. Like I can't hear.
Bro. My microphone is muted, people. You
It's
guys
not.
just keep on going.
So what I was gonna say, and it sounds like Corey, you and I agree. For you guys watching this, make sure you share this out and tag somebody because this is a nugget. If you're just getting started, the best time to get a deal is right after you just got that last one. If you're already in that moment, you got a deal and you know it's contract and you know it's gonna fund. Go get another one. Don't wait for the payday and then say you'll get one when you get broke because it's going to be a month or two. God forbid there's title issues.
We've got 9 or 10 deals on our board that'll probably never close because of title issues. Where we had a great duplex in Fort Worth. We were going to buy it for $50,000. Could not get the title clear. No attorney. Now we couldn't get the seller to sell it to us for 10 so we could have more time to do all the publications and everything it would take to get that title clear. But if we'd got that title clear, we could have listed that house for $135 as it sat and made a good chunk of money. On the flip side of that, we bought a RV park for $150 that we're probably about to sell for $400,000. You know what I mean? So I mean it's having deals. I wholesale. I am not a wholesaler. I do not put things out for assignment. I don't like the snakiness of the business. I don't like the mentality of this is going to be easy and then people find out it's hard. So now you blast out a deal. Now I found it hard. I can't communicate with sellers. So I'm going to go to your seller and I'm going to ruin your deal. Even though I can't close the deal, I'm going to go around you and try to get your deal from you. You know what I mean? I'm going to go direct to your seller. Now I got a seller that's contacted me saying, hey, I got somebody that just came by here and offered me more money. I want out of your contract. And now I've got to face, do I go to legal? Do I go to court? Do I sue? All that stuff takes time. Like I'm not the best at utilizing my time. But the one thing I do love about my time is I get paid when I sleep. You know what I mean? Like the when we bring a lead in, we evaluate it, we make our offer, we buy it, we pay our lender makes money, our lender wants to give us more money, you know what I mean? And then I list it, a real estate agent's doing the disposition, I don't have any more time in that deal. 90% of the time I have less than 2 hours in a deal total, you know what I mean? And I don't have to worry about anything because right now I've got deals that are going to pay us $100,000 that I could try to assign and make a big assignment fee on, right? But somebody's just going to try to go around me. You know what I mean? That's the nature of the business in the hot markets. At least that's my experience. I don't. You do virtually, so you've got even more dynamics and more chances for somebody to come in and snake a deal. I mean, how do you negotiate that? How do you navigate that rough water? Because that's something I never understand from the wholesaling side of things.
So I'm glad you asked that, Corey, because there is a bad stigma. I mean, we're the armpit in the wholesale world. We're the armpit of real estate. I've heard that said from agents all over. And one of the things that I do, I take business with a lot of pride. My name is important. My reputation is important because I know what can happen when you ruin that reputation. And so, we never put anything under contract if it doesn't make sense and it's not profitable for our end buyer. But we also have systems and processes in place where those snakes don't get in our deals because of how we show the property, the systems that we put in place, how we take our offers. And those are things that I love teaching, even my students, because they put a deal out there and they say, yeah, go look at it. Or they put the address out there. And now they've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry showing up, and you're setting yourself up for failure.
But how do you show a property without giving them access to the seller? Because, I mean, look, we all know how to skip trace somebody now. It's become way too common knowledge.
Let me answer. We do a silent auction. So what I do is I fill up the window. So like this showing's from 2 to 4, and it's always supervised. So whether, in the beginning stages back, 6 years ago when we started, we would be there ourselves. Or when we started scaling 6-7 months in, because of the volume, we had delegated that out. We work with a lot of veterans or struggling. We train them for a week on what's expected. They've got a notepad in hand. This is gold nugget, you guys. This is the only reason why we have like 99% close rate and don't get stated and snaked, because we do a silent auction. So I've got a tablet or a notepad with somebody that's showing, and they out there and they will check in. I know,
dude. I'm just telling you, your microphone's not muted. Like it's when
the microphone's volume is off.
Dude, it's not muted. Like when Ella gets to talking, it cuts Bryce out. I can't even.
Cool. I'll just unplug it. I'll unplug it. Keep going.
All right.
So long story short, we do a supervised showing with check-in. So I know who's going to the property. We don't give an address unless they've given us their name, phone number, and email. And once they get to the property, if they make it to the property, then there's expectations that are obviously set with the seller in those conversations. But then we have someone acting as a liaison between that potential buyer and the seller, or the seller's asked to leave, go get lunch, we'll pay for lunch or something like that, and they leave. Now, that's not to say that someone can't come back around, but the odds of that happening when I know who's out there, I know who's marketing that property, I know who's looked at it, I've got it narrowed down to 4 or 5 guys. And after you do deals that have money on them for both parties and it's a win-win, they won't really want to burn you and escape you.
No, they don't want to skate you. But here's what happens. It's never the guy that does that. Here's what happens. Somebody sends me a deal that don't match my criteria, right? So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna send it to, maybe I got a group of people. I'm like, somebody just sent me a deal in such and such. Here's the numbers, this and that, right? And somebody pops in the comment section and says, what's the address? Here's the address. Now the snakes all have it on a public forum. You know what I mean? And it wasn't something that I was doing maliciously. I was trying to offer it to somebody, hey, I just got this sent to me if you're interested. And now everybody's converged on that property. Now, it's not something that I'm scared of or whatever. When it comes to scaling and doing, how many wholesale deals do you do a month right now?
So technically right now, I've dialed it down for the last 2 months. I haven't done anything in 2 months because I'm focused on something else. Personally, as the company, I've just recently separated from that company because of some conflict of interest and how they were treating their sellers, employees. Great people, I just didn't agree with their vision. But my 5-year average when I left there was 50 plus. It was like 53.1 deals per month.
And that's virtually in multiple markets.
That is right here in DFW.
That's right there in DFW. What? Okay, that's like New Western. That's like what's the other one? Oh,
Yeah, I would just say, about 40 to 50% of their deals they bought from us. That's how good our properties were under contract
right,
because of the negotiations.
right. But all of those deals, like, so if I'm doing 100 deals in DFW a month, okay, and I've got to scale that team out. I've got basically I'm managing people at this point in time. Like I'm not, I might jump on the phone and negotiate a lead. I might, handle some hard stuff. But at this point in time, to do that kind of volume, I mean, we all know a lead is a lead, but every sales price doesn't make a deal a deal. You know what I mean? Somebody's got to negotiate that price down to where it makes sense. If you've got somebody that wants full retail and their property's in good condition, it's very rare that you're going to get them down to 40, 50%. No matter how good of a negotiator you are, you can't build the value of that offer down to that point. And you're almost wasting your time to try to. You know what I mean? You're almost better off finding that person that does have that motivation. So the sheer volume of doing those kind of numbers means that you've got to get 2,000 to 3,000 addresses into the bottom of that funnel, right? And you got to have people pick through it. How do y'all do that in a company like that? I mean, what's the churn like? Because if I'm a small guy and I get hired, right, as soon as I figure out a little bit about your system, I go implement it on my own. Now I'm doing 3 deals on my own. I'm knocking down $100,000 a month. You know what I mean? Like, how do you keep that from happening? It seems like the pie gets divided awfully small at all avenues. You know what I mean? It's like,
so I mean, there's a lot of questions that I hear there, Corey. But
there's a bunch of questions because I'm trying to make sense of it in my mind. When I think about my 3 or 4 deals a month, right? If I can turn $30,000 to $100,000 on the deals, that's great. But in reality, sometimes it's $5,000 a deal. But $20,000 a month is still a healthy amount of money for anybody in this business. If I take on a cold caller, if I try to scale this up to another 10 deals a month, my margin goes down, right? I've got to negotiate a deeper discount to keep my margin up, right? I've got to train all these people. Now, as I get these people trained, what do? They break off and go on their own. And I think that's the biggest problem that people have with scaling this business. I think, people want to do it. They want to scale it. But as soon as they get somebody trained up, they're out the other side of the business. Was that it?
So let me address that then. So that said, how you keep them from doing that is how you treat them. One, I wouldn't tell acquisition manager A how my disposition works, nor would I tell them how my marketing works. I hired you to do acquisitions and simply close deals. My cold callers, they don't understand what the acquisition persons are doing. And my dispositions, they couldn't be as skilled as my acquisition people. So they all, each and every one of them have their role. It's just like, putting something together, putting a car together. Every bolt has a purpose, and every purpose or every bolt needs that oil and fine tune. And so it's having the system in place or the process and knowing who to delegate and who to implement, but also make sure how you're nurturing those people. And so if you're a one-person operation and you bring on a second person, how are you going to manage and nurture that person? Are you going to give them 100% of your business, or are you only going to have them do this role? So that way it creates a good problem. So now you get to hire another person to put in here. The sooner you can hire and delegate, the sooner you can step out of your business and work on it and not in. And that's the key.
I agree. Like, I mean, look, we're there.
Can I just say we're live on live, dropping some mass value?
Well, I'm sitting in front of our office where at the end of the office, Whitley's currently leasing houses. She's owner financing houses. She's burning down the phone at one end. Sitting in the middle, Robin's paying all the bills. A little bit down, Diana's sitting there right now wondering where my receipts are. They're piled up in this console. She's, got to do the bookkeeping. She's wondering where it's out. At the other end, Jacob's looking at everything going, okay, we're going to have $400,000 of CapEx coming out. We need to raise money. We need to do this. I'm sitting out in my car. I'm on a podcast. When I get done with here, I'm going to go meet contractors. Everybody has their role, right? Like, I don't think Whitley's going to leave tomorrow and start doing wholesaling. I don't think Diana's going to leave tomorrow and start doing wholesaling. But I wouldn't want to hold them back from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Diana, if Whitley said, "Hey, I want to know the other part of this business. I want to step out on my own and live the entrepreneurial dream." How can somebody who's living that dream, me, tell them or deny them that? You know what I mean? So
That's why I separated from that partnership, just so you know, because they would not allow one of our acquisition persons to buy one of our properties and flip it because they were worried about something going awry and it coming back on them, and they were holding them back. That was the icing on the cake, and one of the many.
And that's and for me, like, you know, because this is I love this business. Over the last year, what I learned about this business, and you're probably experiencing this too. I'm relevant to a certain degree, but really in the big scheme of things, I'm a fucking tick on a dog's ass. I'm nobody, right? Like what I'm out trying to do is I'm trying to buy rental properties. I just got off the phone with my dad. I was sitting at the bank, got off the phone with my dad, good friend of ours, good friend from my childhood, good friend of my dad's. He's in between my dad's and mine's age, like probably split 50-50. So maybe he's in his 40s. Maybe he's in his 40s. I don't really know. But he's got daughters the same age as my daughter. So he's got young kids, 4 of them. Gets a headache, can't shake it, goes to the doctor, got brain cancer, probably isn't going to live another 2 months. This man makes $400,000 a year. And in your mind, when you're making $400,000 a year, tomorrow is always guaranteed. You know what I mean? You're making the 400,000 and you're able to invest it into things that you want to invest it into. Maybe it's more notoriety. Maybe it's more trying to grow a brand, whatever it is, trying to grow a business. To me, if you're doing that, if you're growing a brand and you're injected into that business so much, into the DNA of that business, that whenever you find out you got brain cancer, you got 2 months to live, now your kids are suffering. You know what I mean? Because that business dies the moment that you die. No more income comes in. You can't go out and sell when you're dead. You can't do any of the things that we are accustomed to doing. There's way more money in wholesaling and wholesaling by far. But guess what? The rent's still due after I'm dead. And the 4 people in this office can run that business without me being here every day. The business might not grow at the same rate without me out chirping and talking and buying and negotiating, but the business will run without me here. And Emery's in the office too, and she's in there probably playing on an iPad. If I know her, she's unsnaked somebody out of some technology, but she will be looked after. Everybody will take care of her. She won't have her dad, and that'll be, you know, I was at that wedding the other day. I mean, it made me emotional knowing that my buddy had brain cancer, wasn't going to get to walk his daughter down that aisle, but sitting there with my daughter as she took such an attention to every detail and asking questions and inquisitive. And you just know she's building this moment up in her mind at 5 years old, the day that she's going to get married. You know what I mean? I want to be there, but even if I can't be there, if I'm dead, I want the party to be the biggest fucking party on planet Earth. I want them to get like a picture of me with like fucking angel wings and I'm breathing fire. You know what I mean? And I want her to not have to worry about money in college and stuff like that. So that's why I built this business this way. You get what I'm saying? If I'm going to try to hold somebody else back from that, if I'm going to sit here and scale a business and everything else, and you got people like Witherspoon that is like my right hand dude now, you know what I mean? He's doing his first property to get passive income. If Witherspoon came to me right now and said, I want to buy this RV park because it's gonna provide income after I die for my family, and that's what I want, I couldn't hold him back from that. You know what I mean? If Witherspoon wants to know how
I'm sorry, and I don't mean to stop you. I don't understand where you're going there, and I get on these because I want to add value to the viewers, not to get to know.
I know what you're saying. But if so you're teaching people how to scale to 100 wholesale deals a month, right? Like you can. If I pay Bryce McKinley money, you're going to teach me how to do 100 wholesale deals a month, right?
I'm going to give you all of the tools. I'm not going to claim to have the work ethic, but I'm going to give you all the tools.
But we know Corey Thompson has the work ethic. So if I pay you money, you're going to give me you're going to give me negotiations. You're going to give me every ounce of it, right?
Absolutely. Every script, all the contracts, a free lead generating software right now on average is generating 40 to 50 leads a day, a CRM to manage those leads, time scheduling tools, affirmations.
CRM.
Right. everything. I role play, one-time investment. You're a lifetime member. So anytime you have questions, there's never an upsell. Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I did this, Corey, when I formed the coaching business, because I've always been a consummate business consultant or coach. It pissed me off when I came into this industry and I didn't realize that I had what I had. I didn't realize that 10 transactions my first month in was a big deal. And I went in and did 23. I didn't realize, up until I think a year and a half ago when Propelio, like, you're doing what? And I showed them my checks and HUDs that they're like, oh, you got to come on. It's like, I didn't realize I did what I did. And when I realized that, I'm like, shit, everybody needs to know. And when I seen all these other coaches and mentors out there getting one or two students a quarter that maybe get one check and you never hear from them again, I've got students out there getting 4 or 5 deals every single week from Japan into Houston, calling from Japan. I've got a client that's in China because he has an eBay business calling into Greenville, And so I've proven that my system works. Now, are these guys doing 100 deals? No, because they don't have $1 million in the bank like my former partners to when we had problems to add more implementation scales and systems. But shit, 25, 30 deals a month, my top 3 producers are crushing it.
So people ask me questions all the time, and they assume I know everybody. They assume that me and you are friends. They, right now I've made it to a point where I've kind of ran across the snaky people in the business, like the people that come in, they ride around with you, they hang out with you for a day, and then they want to steal your system or whatever. But that doesn't bother me. Like, it doesn't bother me because I'm buying in Coleman, Texas. Nobody else is buying in Coleman, Texas. I've got a skill set that I can go into any market, make me a couple of bucks, and then I'm going fishing with my daughter. You know what I mean? Sure. I don't want to make $1 million a month. I don't care if I make $1 million a month. It's not on my goals list. Like, all of my goals lists are people related. It has no monetary anything. Like, it's all about the people in this office. It's all about our lenders. It's all about our partners. Like, I make $1,300 a month. I do not feed into lifestyle. I'm not a minimalist. I'm not a hippie. I don't, it's none of that. It's just, if I was to take $5,000 a month, the extra $4,000 or $3,700 is another employee I could set in this office to do leasing. You know what I mean? So why would I want to handicap the company like that? I wouldn't do it. I would, if, as we add to passive income, we add another employee. I've ran across everybody. Everybody assumes I know you. Everybody wants me to promote their system. Like, I've got all these other social media influencers that don't know shit about, I don't know shit about e-commerce. I don't know shit about Spotify. Why would I put them in the group? You know what I mean? Why would I put them in the group and say, this is the motherfucker you need to call if you want a Spotify store? But I see people leveraging influencers in all aspects and trying to leverage what they think I'm an influencer. So they want to leverage my following. I get questions every day, right? A lot of the questions, at least from my side about you, I don't have answers to. You know what I mean? If somebody asks me, Bryce McKinley says he's done 2,500 deals. He says he made $17,000 a deal. That's $44 million, right? We can all do that math. Everybody in the sun can do that math. How do I answer that question? How do I say, well, whatever. The only way I can do it is by getting you on the podcast and finding out about your business. You know what I mean? That's it. Like that's the only way. So how do you answer that question when people have read that in the comment section? That's all they know about you, is that you're the world's #1 wholesaler. You've done 2,500 deals. You've made $17,000 a deal. That's $44 million. And now they're wanting to hire you. You know what I mean? Because they're looking to me. They're wanting to hire me, and I'm like, I'm not for hire. But I know people who are. What do you think about Bryce McKinley? I'm like, well, and then they tell me your stats, and I'm like, well, that's $44 million. I would ask them about the $44 million. That's where I would start with that conversation. Do you? I'll
tell you right now. I'll stop you right now. I don't have $44 million in the bank. I was a very small partner, as we discussed in the previous part, that created this machine. I don't ever hide that. I don't deny it. And the other thing that I would say is, I've never shown a check. I've just started doing an ad campaign that we're about to do some paid ads to push the other gurus, whatever you guys call them, out, because I don't believe in that. But I just summed up literally about 3 months worth of checks, and you can't fake checks. Now, do I have all the HUDs? No, because I was a partner in another company that I parted ways. But this is about 3 months worth of checks, and there's a lot of them. I'll just say that. Now, that said, the opposing side of that is don't just take my word for it. Go to the wholesalingholygrail.com and look at what other people are experiencing with implementing this process.
There's one of Pat's friends is on there. Pat, what's the guy's name? That the speaker? The speaker, we can hear you.
Oh, Matt?
No, yeah, we can hear you.
I can't hear anything.
We can hear you.
I don't know
we
why.
Can hear you, bud.
I got the sick baby. She's about
mathematics, correct?
I think so,
No,
right?
No.
Or is it Marshall Gillan?
Yeah.
Is Marshall on? Marshall's on the site, right?
Is Marshall a customer of yours?
So on Wholesaling Holy Grail, Marshall is not on there as far as I know.
Okay.
He did an interview here in my office because he does marketing and funnels and stuff like that, and we hired him as the coach to come in and show us how to do ClickFunnels. Because
really?
I'm not tech savvy, but I've known Marshall because I followed him for 2 or 3 years.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Him and Pat go way back, but Pat was telling me that I needed to reach out to him and said that y'all had done business together and that he thought he might be getting into real estate. But I don't know. I when it comes on.
Yeah, I know stuff, Marshall's never done real estate before. You know what I mean?
No, he hasn't. He has coached other real estate companies to build their marketing and stuff like that. And so he has that experience. One of his business partners has a homeless shelter for trafficked kids in the sex slave industry in Mexico. And they're huge San Diego.
The International Hearts or whatever they're called, right?
Yeah. Their founders of that are huge real estate investors. And Marshall's been around it, just like Pat's been around it. He knows just enough to talk about it. But Marshall's not in real estate.
Right.
He'll talk about how badass the system is based on what he's seen from everybody else, because he was in our office and we opened the books and showed him everything.
Right. That's good. And I'm like, I'm not, I can't, me and Pat, we're small fries. Well, Pat knows everybody. Pat knows all the social media influencers. When I get called a social media influencer, I'm like, if y'all are following me for influence on social media, you need to follow somebody who's good at social media. Because I'm not good at social media. Like, all I'm out doing is what I got to do every day. And I just go live whenever I do it and talk shit.
Well, and that's why people like Corey, because Corey's busy doing the work.
That's why they like you.
Corey's busy doing the work. That's why people follow this page. Corey doesn't have a Bentley that he drives around in or fancy suits. We got the sound cutting out. My baby's sick. I didn't make an excuse and say, let's reschedule. We're going to work through the technical difficulties and do the damn work. Because people's time is expensive. And that's where we got in. That's where we got in on Roasting Gurus. And I'll just say it straight up. I did this epic mastermind event with all these people that are legit. Billy Jean's legit. Caleb Maddox is legit. And they filled in the cracks with a bunch of fake guru bullshitters. And it pissed people off when I started speaking up about it. But guess who the authority is on being on the damn stages? Pat fucking Hilton. Because I've been there and I've done that. And if people don't like it, they can kiss my ass because they haven't stood in front of 10,000 people and played the stages.
Well, see,
and now everybody's running scared now because they pissed off the funny song guy.
They pissed off the funny song guy. But this is from our side of things.
So we want to help people make money. That's why you're on the show.
So
we want people winning.
People. Roughneck to Real Estate is a funny ass group, right? It's just a goofy ass group where we have a lot of knowledgeable ass people in there about real estate. They jump in the comment section, they help somebody with title issues. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm paying you to coach and I've got title issues, you're going to help me scrub that title? Like, are you going to help me get in touch with the right person to scrub that title? Because there's bigger margins. I'm telling you right now, there are deals on my board. I can't get the payoff from a 1986 owner finance buyer owner finance seller.
Let me ask you, Corey, why do you feel that you can't get the payoff? Is it the cooperation with the seller?
No, it's not. They didn't put a maturity date on the deed of trust. So I'm gonna let you in on this on a little title issue gold nugget coming at you right now. If they put a mature date on the deed of trust, so let's say that mature date is 1997, and that it matures 4 years later, that deed of trust is null and void. If they didn't foreclose within that 4 years, it's over with. But if there's no damn mature date, guess what? Now you've got to find out who the hell Tom was and why he owner financed his house. And you got to go to the deed records and you got to look him up, and then you got to get all of his heirs to sign off, or you got to go through the court system to get it done. To go through the court system to get it done, it's going to take you about 10 grand. But all of this is just leverage in a negotiation against the seller that wants X number of dollars for a house. But now, look, I will give you $3,000 for the deed, $3,000 right here for the deed. And now I go work on the title issues while I'll hold the deed. You know what I mean? And he's got $3,000 out of the way. I publish the notifications that there's going to be a court hearing. I pay the attorney 10 grand and I clean it up. Logan Bentley Fulmer out of San Antonio. I don't know this about him. Maybe we need to get him on the podcast, but he does meticulous deals. He deals with title issues, and it's a great lead source. People go to title companies and they say, hey, give me the last 20 deals y'all worked on that y'all couldn't close because of title issues. Give me the contacts of them. They give it to them. And then they come back and they work on the title issues and they come back and close it through that title company. Because you and I know the title company doesn't get paid anything for the work they do if they can't clear the title. So if I'm paying Bryce McKinley money now and I have that you have that person on your team that can help, or you that person, how do you network in and bring that? Because to me, that's more value. Your lead generation software on its own is enough to get most people off the ground. When it comes to coaching and all that, I think expectations get set awfully high. People don't necessarily want me to do.
So let me answer it so we don't run out of time. I wrote my notes on here. Not only do we have a video course where they can get most questions answered, if that isn't answered in the video course in the section of title, we also have 2 group coaching calls that we have a topic. So this week, for example, we were talking about marketing. We were actually going through it, showing how the automation system works. And then on Thursdays, so we do 2 group coaching calls a week. Most coaches don't ever even do one a month where the actual coach is on the damn call. And that's one of the many reasons why I got pissed off and said, we need to start training, because there's enough pie out there for everybody. Yeah, I'm doing 50 deals, every month for the last 5 years, but that didn't stop you. That didn't stop New Western. There's enough pie out there for everybody. So I never get scared about bringing more people in. On the other hand, 2 group coaching calls a week. If they don't have that question on Tuesday or Thursday, then the following Tuesday or Thursday when it comes up, we're right there and going to walk them through it. Not only that, to the next level, we have hour-long blocks that they can book to where they can talk one-on-one with me or Chris or my other coaches that are in our company that have done deals.
Do you have an attorney that you used to work with at your old company that would scrub these titles, or did y'all just let the ones with bad title go? I mean, because it's a time deal. You know what I mean? Like, it's how much time you have in the deal. That's what makes it valuable.
So that's a great question. So when we were doing volume, we would typically go out. We would try to get at least 2 extensions up to 60 days and try, or 90 days and try, because typically things like that takes about 45 to 60 days. So we'd at least get out to 90 days. And we would work them, and we had a back office of admin that knows title, and they would work them and collaborate with the sellers and things like that. But after a certain point, we would just kick them out to, guys like Jared and things like that we had in our network that are doing 4 or 5 a month that had the time to go do that, because now my admin staff just doesn't have the time. And so we would have to cut it. And they get the earnest money.
Well, we didn't. And dealing with the sellers become time vacuums on title issues, because they get really needy. They want to hear from you all the time. They want to know the status. They're trying to get some money. I'm split 50-50. when we get a deal in, I just got a title commitment this morning on a contract I turned in last week, which is crazy. I've never seen a title company move that fast, but I'm reading through the issues. I'm reading, there's definitely Schedule A issues on there. Like it's an affidavit of heirship deal all the way, but they act like we were going to be able to close this week. And, it's like, no, title company, that's not the girl that's on the contract. Like that's her daughter. She's dead. You know what I mean? So this is, it's stuff like that, I catch that fast, you know what I mean? That I think the new person, they'll get, they get their funding in order, they get everything. And then obviously somebody's going to catch that mistake when Doris doesn't show up, Elaine does, you know what I mean? They're like, who the hell are you? And now you're sitting there at the closing table and you realize you got to do an affidavit of heirship and you got to track down dead husbands, kids, and like all kinds of goofy shit. Do y'all offer that kind of one-on-one like overview? Is there a price point where you can get hands-on like that to keep people from making that mistake, to keep people, because we know if you're looking forward to making that first $30,000 and you get to the closing table and the title company didn't realize the seller that they had on the Schedule A is dead, you know what I mean? Simple mistake happens all the time.
And the quick answer is yes. If they have something like that, every one of my coaching students has my cell phone number. Chris Cobb has a cell phone number. Our assistant, Sarah and Cynthia, they have their cell phone numbers. And we're also, we've got a private secret Facebook group and a chat going on. They've got 3 or 4 ways to reach out if they need that support. The answer is absolutely yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So I think Pat disappeared on us. He might be changing a diaper.
No, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, it's rough. Usually she goes to school on these days, but she's sick. And I'm actually a parent that doesn't send his kid to school sick. I know that's like revolutionary these days, which is why
value.
That's massive value. If you want to be a good parent, don't send your kid to school sick, because then every other kid gets sick and the parents get sick and then everyone continues to get sick, like what we're experiencing today, folks. So if you really, really want to bring some massive value to the classroom, let's not send our kids into school sick.
But hey, Pat, my kid never goes to school. Like, matter of fact, she might end up going to San Antonio with me. I hope her. As soon as I get off of here, I got to call her mom.
My kid never goes to school.
She never goes to school. Like she's when she starts school next week, it's going to be not next week, in August. It's going to be a real learning curve for both of us.
She's going to be a savage.
We got to wake up at a certain time in the morning. We got to
take a
shower.
Corey, I'm just going to tell you right now, from one single dad to another, it's going to be the best break, but also nerve-wracking and scary as shit for the first week or two.
Man, I don't know how you guys do the single dad thing. Like, even just today, trying to run the studio with the kid running around, it's like I can barely handle it.
Yeah,
texting my wife, I'm like, this is so bad for business. We have this really great guy on, and get home.
I'm pretty sure I met my future wife yesterday, because
you say that every day.
We're at the studio in Propelio, and they didn't have no power. And Emery's like, just let me watch TV on your phone. I'm like, whatever, go, watch it, like hang out. And then she goes and gets in the corners, like cuddled up, all cold, trying to get warm because it's cold as shit in there because we had the garage door open. And the girl that I'm interviewing, Cheyenne, she's like, here, take this jacket and this and that. Got her all warmed up, set up with a pillow. And I'm like, oh man, I'm a bad parent. She's like, no, I'm like, you know what? Being cold on the concrete will build character later. Like later on in life, she'll be like, I don't want to be cold on the concrete, so I'm going to get me a job. At least that's how I play it back in my head. But really, we were all just trying to get the studio up and going, and Emery was watching TV and not complaining. So a mom's got to step in and notice that there's a cold kid in the room. But anyways, Bryce, how can people find you? Where do they need to get in touch with you? What's your website? You've got a Facebook group, don't you? Platinum, is that there's a lot of them.
So I have Virtual Wholesaling 101, Prospecting, Objections, and Rebuttal. It's an open group. Anybody can join. There is an application. There's absolutely no ads. There's no posting properties, nothing. It's just free training. I haven't done any lives in it this year because last 2 years, every Wednesday I went live, and every Wednesday There's, a couple hundred recordings in there where I'm role playing, cold calling, prospecting. That's virtual wholesaling 101. But if you want to know more about our program, if you go to the link that Pat put in the header there, it's wholesalingholygrail.com, or you could go to leadgenerationfreedom.com, and either one of those has information from different perspectives and testimonials. We've actually got on leadgenerationfreedom.com, we've got, I think it's an 8 or 10 page PDF that you can download and have like course of action steps. Like if you just do these 8 steps, you'll get free leads and you'll have better conversations. So we've got massive value there. I've been wanting to say.
Yeah. And that's free. That's something you're doing for free to help people make money.
Also check out Propelio. Exactly. Just get started like you always say.
Right.
I recorded a whole bunch of content on my NLP conversations with Propelio, getting their academy. And I've got a couple slides left. They should have it by the end of the week and maybe in the next week or two. I don't know their production time, but there's a whole course on NLP and how to conversate better and have more intentional conversations that sound natural. And leadgenerationfreedom.com or wholesalingholygrail.com. Those are the 2 websites, or the virtual wholesaling group if you want to see me live and in action on the phone. I still make calls. I still effing grind, but I'm not out there. I look at it like this. I've got mad respect for you guys that are out there driving. So don't think that I do. I'm not putting you down. I couldn't do it. It's just like my wife. I just got married a couple months ago. She's a nurse. Love her to death.
Right.
Change baby diapers that aren't mine and stick needles in kids. I just couldn't do it. So I've got respect for her. So I've got respect for you guys. I love you guys in this community. And I just want to add value. And so I don't remember where the hell I was going with
No, I love it, dude.
Look, you're talking about the driving for dollars. I think people think I drive for dollars all the time. I don't. I'm just always driving.
Yeah.
I may as well drive for dollars. Like it's kind of like this. I'm already I could not sit in an office. Like that is just, it's not my cards. I can't do it. I don't want to look at deals, but I want to look at deals. You know what I mean? It's like I've got to go do something.
Here's what I would propose for you, because I was like that, always being on the road, traveling and doing sales consulting with dealerships all over the country, right? I was that guy. I hated sitting in the office. When I found this, I can show you my time blocking schedule. Actually, it's in my chair. I only work on my business or in my business from like 2 to 5. So if you could sit down, and you already do it, brother, you get in there and scrub lists and all that. If you can have a system that's just automatically generating and all you got to do is talk to hot, motivated leads, it's a no-brainer. Those same 2 or 3 hours that you're spending in there doing those things, I look at it like this. I do that, have intentional conversations, and now I get to go to all the athlete events that Cranston's.
I get it. Like,
travel.
I get it.
That's why I do it.
But me, like, my role in the business, like, I've got a $300,000 rehab on an apartment complex. You know what I mean? I've got to go check on the progress of it. I've got to go check on the progress of our duplex whenever it's getting rehab.
Let me ask you this, Corey. Why do you feel that you have to do it if you took a week to train somebody and make that a position?
No, because they didn't give that person that gave me $800,000 to do that project. They didn't give it to my hired on guy.
Okay, I got you.
I wanted $100,000 the next time. I've got to go out there. I've got to shop the materials. I've got to chew the ass. I'm holding back 2 invoices right now for the guy because he hadn't done the punch out list for him. I've got $4,000 waiting on him just as soon as he does some trim work. But he wants to be getting a pissing match. I'll keep his money forever. You know what I mean? That's my role in the business. Now, this is how. And look, it's a completely different deal. Like, I'll look over the fence all the time because a while back, and I'll have to dig this out because it's something that changed my life and changed my perspective. Somebody offered me $100,000 to coach them in real estate. Okay. They wanted me to teach them multifamily. Now, understand I make $1,300 a month. So I'm looking at the 100,000 real hard. You know what I mean? I'm glaring at it. Like that 100,000, I'm just thinking, like, I'm not thinking about a Lambo. I'm not thinking about that, but I'm thinking about the ease and comfort I could have with that 100,000. But then I looked at the flip side of the 100,000. What strings are attached to it? If somebody's paying you $100,000, what do you think they expect you to do? And I was like, man, do I want to put them expectations on myself? Do I want to bear that burden when they don't feel like they got their money's worth, when they don't like property management because property management fucking sucks? You know what I mean? Like when we were just on the phone with somebody that's got a water leak, you know what I mean? This idiot has a fucking water leak. I hope she finds this and she can fucking eat my ass with a spoon. This dumb, she has a water leak. We sent everybody out there to fix the water leak. She had like $160 water bill, right? We told her we're gonna pay the water bill. Just shut up. She gets $900 a month from the city of her $1,100 rent. She pays $200 a month for rent, $200, and she gets a water bill that's like $120, and it's got a late fee on it and everything else. And she's all pissed off at us because she says the water leak's still happening. So she gets the city involved. She gets all this bullshit. As soon as I hit that hurdle, that person that pays me $100,000 can't deal with Susie dumbass that can't. There's no water leak. You know what I mean? But now we're having to deal with that. That's why we got the office staff. You know what I mean? But that's what financial freedom looks like. If you want to collect $150,000 a month in rent and walk away with, $50,000, $60,000 a month, you're going to have to deal with people that have water leaks. So you tell me, you know what I mean? Do you want to make money when you're asleep and deal with one lady with a water leak every once in a while? But that person that's got $100,000 that wants to pay you to coach them, they're probably a little bit too bushy to deal with the water leak. They're probably a little bit too bushy to deal with the stuff that Witherspoon went out and looked at the other day, where the apartment right above one apartment was shitting onto the other apartment, like the line broke and shit landed on the toilet below it. It was the craziest thing ever, but we got an insurance claim on it. We're not having to pay for that. But that's kind of stuff that people.
And Corey, real quick, I love your perspective on that. Right? There's always two sides to every point. Here's my thought when I hear that. I'm thinking, well, shit. You said I wouldn't want that expectation on me. I would set the proper expectation on them. This is all I can do. And that's why I say, I don't know about multifamily. I don't know trailer parks. I don't know, rehab. I don't know any of that. And that's where a lot of these gurus, they get you hooked on this big dream and what could happen. Sure, that could happen. But I'm going to get, my famous quote that a lot of our members are saying is, I don't know everything, but I know enough to get your results. And I'll tell you right now, in that situation, I would say I can get you results. Here's the expectation. Why wouldn't you take that money as long as the expectations were what you and him agreed upon, not what he's dictating and coming back. And if he has a bad experience like what we do, I don't want the bad press. If you can't do what we've told you to do and we track it with accountability measures and things like that, I'll give you your money back. I don't care about.
Look, that's where I got mad respect for people like you, because here's what I couldn't do. I couldn't even build whatever the accountability schedule, whatever that is. I can't build that. Like my mind when I hear schedule, I'm like, oh, that sucks. What? Like I got a fishing pole in my trunk right now. Emery's reels broke on it, so it's a little piece of shit. But I've got a fishing pole in my trunk right now, and I dread the day that me and Emery are buzzing down a road and I see a pond and it's a pretty day, and I can't jump that fence and get in that pond because my schedule won't allow it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just a different approach. But that accountability schedule is something that you can build because you operate on schedule. You can build that out. When this guy offers me $100,000, here's where my mind goes right then. I'm gonna go do the work for you. I'm gonna get you your $100,000 back. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna tell you to shut up. There, you got it. You know what I mean? You got your money's worth because you don't have any money in this anymore. Our arrangement's over. But then I start breaking it down to the time, and I'm like, do I have time to dick with this right now? Do I want to give up the deal, the 57 units that just came in West Texas? Do I want to give up that 57 units to him to get him his $100,000 back? Or do I want to pull $400,000 out of it on a refi tax-free in a year after I get it stabilized?
Yeah, and you're a
decision for
smart
me.
guy. You got to where you are because you're a smart guy. You're smarter than you give yourself credit for. And that circumstance was a circumstance and not a situation. It was that based on those circumstances, you made a smart decision. And knowing those other factors, that makes perfect sense.
No, but I look over the fence all the time. Believe me, I look over the fence. When we do the masterminds, the coolest thing about our little $100 mastermind is this. Pat gets to keep all the money. Pat needs money. He lives in California. He's got goals and expectations. If we can make Pat $10,000 a month doing masterminds, that's life-changing for Pat. What happened to me was Mike Bolin, who I guess I can consider Mike a friend, can I, Pat?
Yeah, of course. Mike's the man.
Mike comes out from Napa Valley, California to Tyler, Texas to hang out. Mike was at the REI meetup in Tyler. You were there.
Yeah.
Mike's there. Mike's done $17 million deals. He bought a warehouse just to store his Maserati in Napa Valley. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I get to get around a guy like that because we have the mastermind. Now, I know in my heart of hearts, me and Mike are going to figure out a deal that's going to work for us, and we're going to partner on that deal. He's going to bring all of his real estate experience. I'm going to bring the fire and the heat and the energy and the work, and we're going to go make a deal work. You know what I mean? And we might both make $1 billion or some crazy shit. We don't even know. You know what I mean? But that's how I look at it. Like, I'm like, I love doing the masterminds because it blows people's minds when you put this information for them. And you see it every day too, because they hit that first wall or hurdle, and they just need that nudge to get over. You might be able to catapult them to the 8th story in a week. You know what I mean? For me, I just want to open their mind up to be like, hey, if you ask these questions to the right people, you'll get to a point, because not everybody has the money to hire you right now. They might have to first get on the internet with some free content
and join that free group. He said he has a free group.
No, but they might have to first get a plan in place to where they're making $8-10 an hour right now. They might have to get a plan in place to get that skill set up to $20 an hour. You know what I mean? They might have to.
And I'm glad you said that, Corey, because if you guys are still watching this live where we're providing the massive value,
right?
Just so that you guys know, if you do go to one of the sites and you do book a call, I'm not there to sell it. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't need your business. I want it, but I don't need it.
Right.
And what's going to happen is two things. One, if you're stuck or you need that nudge that Corey's talking about, we're going to figure out what that is. And two, I'm going to give you real-time action steps to get there. Y'all can go search Dr. Amanda Glenn. She just got out of school, finished her doctorate, and she doesn't have the money. We talked 2 days ago. She just got her first deal under contract. And because of a phone call and the 3 steps that I told her to take is just write the contract and make the offer and follow it up with the follow-up call.
See?
And then follow it up the next day with the follow-up call if they didn't like it.
Hey,
Corey's going to jump out of his pants now.
Yeah.
Holy shit. If you follow up, there 2 of the 3 steps are follow up.
Yes.
Holy shit.
You just signed a contract this morning, and we've already
The
got
computer is about to explode with massive value.
For my coaching. This is where I get excited. She has not paid for my coaching, and she didn't have it a week ago, but in 2 to 3 weeks, she's going to have her first deal, $75,000 assignment.
Dude, and that's the kind of stuff, you know, when people are in these big wholesaling groups, and I love the big wholesaling groups, but they attract the people that want to put in the most minimal effort or money and get out the most results. So this lady, she inboxes me and this and that, and she's asking something. I don't remember what it was, and I told her a service to sign up for. It might have been Propelio. I think it was Propelio. And said, I don't have $89 a month. And I'm like, well, then you're not even ready. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're not ready.
Bucks.
You're not ready for any of this. If you don't have $89 a month, how could you possibly expect, if you don't have that to invest, to go out and do anything? You know what I mean? You can take a different route to work, but it's still going to cost you money to get access to the phone numbers and everything, your time. There are places you can get free, but $80 a month is such a low barrier to entry that if you don't have that, you got to figure out how to get the $89 first. You know what I mean? The first step
absolutely.
is that. Gotta go.
Bryce has got to roll, baby. He's got deals to do, and that's again why I didn't want.
Buttons.
I didn't want to waste anybody's time today. I made it work the best that I could. So thank you for your time. You guys, wholesalingholygrail.com is how you can schedule an appointment with Bryce. And he's going to give it to you real, just like he did on here, which is exactly why we had him on. Tons of people have been asking us questions. Get Bryce McKinley on. Get Bryce McKinley on. And again, what was it? The 3 keys to success. 2 of them were following up, you guys. Guess what that means? That means that no matter what business you're in,
damn action.
That means no matter what business you're in, 66% of is doing the work. Doing the work. It doesn't matter what system you have. If you don't do the work, it's over. So anyway, dude, Bryce, we love you, man. Thank you so much for coming on and breaking it down. And we'll see you guys soon.
Love you guys. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bryce.